for you. Can't nothing stop me. I got some things I gotta do. Hey, I'm making a move. Study long.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to Hired the Podcast. My guest today probably doesn't need much of an introduction. Alex B. Sheridan, welcome to the show. Great to have you on.
What's up, brother? Glad to be here.
Happy to have you. Alex, do me a favor. For anybody that doesn't know you, isn't aware of you, your presence on social media, just give us a quick rundown of who you are and why it's worth people listening to you.
Yeah, my name is Alex B. Sheridan. I'm the founder of Impaxs Marketing. We help companies win clients on LinkedIn and build industry-leading brands.
Cool. And, I'm sure you have dozens of years of experience in this, got your degree in this, and this has been a lifelong passion since you were a wee pup, right?
No, not at all, man. Not at all. In fact, I had zero marketing experience until I started this business for the most part. I had a lot of sales background, which really I thought was a disadvantage to not have the marketing, but it actually became one of my biggest advantages because I approached LinkedIn for more of a relationship in a emotional standpoint. I thought about things a lot different. The way I connected with people, the content I created. It was more of a sales type approach, and so actually what I thought was a disadvantage became a strength.
Well, that's been your MO is really promoting people to create their social brand on LinkedIn for the purposes of social selling. But you and me have talked quite a bit about how important it can be, or how advantageous it can be for job seekers to almost come to LinkedIn and approach it as a sales job from the exact same place.
Absolutely, man. It is a sale. It's just you're trying to sell into an opportunity. So you're trying to sell yourself, but you're trying to sell, what you would bring to the table and what, you could do for that potential company, that team, that opportunity. So yeah, I think about literally the exact same way. If I was looking for a job right now, I'd probably find the top 10 to 20 companies that I really wanted to work at in my area. And I would literally put together a sales strategy where, I would find the hiring managers for certain departments and I would reach out strategically to those folks and send personalized video DMs. And, I have my value prop ready to go, do really detailed research. So I knew these hiring managers' problems, or at least had an idea of it, the team makeup, that kind of stuff. And then, of course, I'd leverage recruiters for opportunities as well. So there's so much opportunity right now. But you've got to take a very active approach. What doesn't work, as is blasting out a bunch of messages saying, I'm looking for a job. You know anybody hiring? Or they see it, they reach out to recruiters, say, here's my resume, anything? And it's like, I know how busy you guys are and everyone in this space is. You got to stand out. It's the same thing in content. Just posting boring articles isn't going to get you anywhere. You've got to use some creativity and some personalization.
Yeah, well, I think the same message has got to go for companies now. In this market, it's so candidate driven. We posted a job for us the other day and just crickets. I've had 2 applicants in 4 days when, 2 years ago we would have had 40. And so what can companies do to almost take that same approach?
Yeah, good companies right now, like you guys, are creating content and putting yourselves out there so that, the best strategy is to find candidates before you need the candidates. Load up the pipeline before you actually need to pull the trigger. So when you're putting yourself out there, just like I do from a business standpoint, from a sales perspective, so putting content out there that's valuable, that builds my personal brand, that demonstrates my expertise and things of that nature. And so when somebody needs to hire somebody like me, they already know who I am. I've already been out there. So when you're a company, creating content around your industry and what you guys do, but also I think what makes the culture unique and what is the value prop for working at the company. And, if they see hiring managers creating content and having fun and letting their employees build their personal brands, to me, that's attractive. These are all things that people look for now. They don't, nobody wants to work for the boring, completely by the book, black and white company. We want some flavor. We want some personality. We want a culture. We want, opportunity to advance. And I think when you can showcase some of these things, as opposed to just saying, here's a job opening, I mean, how many times have you seen? I've seen job postings where it's like, we have a quality engineer opening, and I look at their last 5 posts, and all of the last five posts are here. We have a quality engineer opening, we have a mechanical engineer opening, we have a process whatever opening, and it gets no reactions because people don't care, right? So if they can build in a story or some value or some, hey, our president or our engineering manager. So he started off as a quality engineer right out of school. Like, we barely even gave him a chance, but he turned out to be build some stories and some character into the post, and you can still create some value for people and promote your job posting.
So let's help them out, Alex. So there's a company that's hiring right now, but they haven't started this process yet. Where would they start? They've come to the realization that you're right. They've bought the message that you're putting out there. Where should they start in order to start to create that employment brand so that the candidates that could be a benefit to them start to see them, start to engage with them, start to get to know who they are and why they could be a good place to come and stake their career flag?
Well, the number one thing that you have to do from a company standpoint is you have to create a safe space for your employees and leadership to create content in the first place. So a lot of people don't want to create, you've got VPs of manufacturing, engineering managers, vice president, employees, entry-level folks coming in. And a lot of times they're not quite sure how to use LinkedIn, how to create content, so they probably need to be trained. But secondly, they need to have a safe space. It's one of the number one reasons employees aren't posting content as much is because they're worried. If I post this piece of content, Travis, is my manager, Karen, is she going to look at my post and say, are you looking for a job, Alex? Why are you posting content on LinkedIn? What are you trying to do? Trying to get the attention of recruiters? And so because there's so much misunderstood, it's so misunderstood that it gets interpreted in different ways. And so employees, one, they're probably scared in a lot of ways, like we all were at one point, to put themselves out there in fear of critique and judgment and the fear of failure. That's a real thing, and you can get over that hurdle, obviously. But even if you got past that, it's what is my company or leadership or my manager going to think? So to answer your question, there's no one thing that you should do right away. But the first thing, if you're going to think about it from a high level, is start to have conversations around, hey guys, I pull the whole team together. Let's say it's a 20-person team, right? Let's just use a very hypothetical situation. 20-person team, maybe they're manufacturing, engineering, whatever. I pull the whole team together. I'd say, hey guys, who's on LinkedIn right now? Let's get some conversation, some dialogue going on. Who's on LinkedIn? What do we think? What's working? What are you seeing? What do you like? What do you not like? And I would just figure it out. And you're probably going to have 1 or 2 people that are maybe doing some decent things on there. You're going to have a lot of people that are probably like, I really just, I posted a job on there. I connect with people. That's really it. And you start having conversations around, hey, look, this is an incredible opportunity for all of us. And here's why it's an incredible opportunity for all of us. What can we do to start taking steps in the right direction? Not be masters at this tomorrow, but just make progress. And then so the individual, the HR manager and the engineering manager and the entry-level engineer, they're going to have different demographics in target audiences in terms of who they're posting content for. So the next step is understanding, who are we posting for? What community are we trying to build? And then let's add tremendous amount of value to that community as much as we possibly can on LinkedIn. And then there's a ton of other strategies that go along with that.
Well, that's been one of the hardest parts for us. We're a company that believes in the value of building a social brand, building an employment brand, not just for the company, but before our people. But that's not our people's strong suit. They don't have much training beyond what we've given them in how to build a social brand.
How do you know that's not their strong suit, though?
That's a really good question, and I guess I don't know that it's not their strong suit. But as much as we encourage them to go out and do it, they're hesitant to. It's really
right.
hard for people to put themselves out there when, they are sales professionals, they are engineering professionals, they are HR professionals. None of them are quote unquote marketing professionals.
So Travis, I'm glad you went there because that's an important place to go. Like that, there's a difference between a weakness, which is like, I really suck at this. I've tried it a lot of times and I just, my brain, I just don't grasp it. Like I'm not good at it. You know, if you've tried something 1,000 times or 100 times, I know for me, spelling is something I naturally suck at. And grammar too. I'm just terrible. Have I tried it? 1,000,000 times. Like I still, very simple words. I'm like, what, how do you, is it the A or the U? I'm like, you know, very simple. So I know that's not my strength. So I don't do a lot of text posts. I don't write a lot of email. You know, that I just don't stay in that space. I stay in video where I think my strengths show up. But that compared to, I just have never done it, right? People are like, I'm not good on video. I'm like, cool. How many videos have you shot? They're like, well, I've done like a couple. I'm like, well, so how could you expect to be good? Right? And nobody, the whole content marketing, personal branding, like this thing's pretty new. In the grand scheme of things, it's very, very, very new, relatively, right? So no one's going to be amazing at it. If you would have pointed to me and said, Alex, go create a creative video for LinkedIn 2 years ago, I would have been like, I have no clue how to do that. I had no clue what you're talking about. I've never done that, right? I didn't know editing. I didn't know how to make a video. I didn't know how to write copy. None of that stuff. So the main thing becomes just, can we get on a path to like see who would be good at it and who wouldn't? Can we get on a path to make sure everyone understands the basics of copywriting, shooting videos, social selling, you know, these aspects? But I think, you know, yes, you've got to, the first step is always to overcome the psychological hurdles of just like, they either just don't believe in it. And like a lot of people are just like, I just think it's a waste of time. It's a time suck. What are we really going to get out of this? They'll post 3 times, expect miracles, nothing happens, and then they're like, shit, this is a waste of time. I'm going to go back to cold calling, emailing, doing my engineering stuff, whatever it is. So you have to really get down to the bottom of the why and help them understand how this whole thing works. I posted 7 times when I first started posting content, 7 times in a row, and I got 0 likes. So I mean, you know, it takes, the content and the branding takes time to build. The social selling is where you can impact right away. So if I'm working with a team, I can teach them how to set meetings today off social selling, because that's outreach, that's personalized messages, that's engaging on other people's content. So I think it just comes down to a lack of clarity in terms of the strategy, probably, and then definitely some fears and some insecurities that you have to overcome. No doubt about it.
How'd you get over that? You know, you start out. How'd you instill that belief that this was going to work? You go out, you create 7 videos. You don't get any engagement. What in you made you keep going?
7 posts. They weren't all videos, but I think maybe 1 or 2 were videos, and then there was a few text posts. And this is late September or October-ish 2019. So it's not like a super long time ago. I just in my mind, I knew it was I knew it was something that was not going to happen right away. I just believed that. Like, I didn't look at it when those posts failed and said, what's wrong with the LinkedIn algorithm? This place sucks. I doubted certain things. I was like, should I be on here? Should I still? Because I originally started on Instagram, and I was like, maybe I should stick with Instagram. But I felt like LinkedIn, there was going to be a ton of opportunity here, and I'm glad I did. But I always had the approach of like, it's just because I came from a sales background, Travis. So like I remember cold calling in the beginning, and you get hung up on, and it doesn't work, and you don't set the meetings. And I think you people really have to understand that failure is not the block to success. It's actually part of the bridge to success. I think that's, people are like, oh, I don't want to fail. I don't want to make a mistake. What if it doesn't work? It's like, dude, that's how you're going to get closer to the success. You got to fall on your face. You got to make mistakes. You have to put yourself out there. There's no way to do it. I mean, if you just look at it from a practical standpoint, does anybody really think that they're going to post 10 to 20 posts and have it just do through the roof amazing stuff? Like, it's just not even, it just sounds silly to even say, right? So it's like, for me, I knew it was a long, long game, and I took ownership. I think that's very important. Like, I didn't, again, I didn't blame the algorithm or blame, Travis and John and Joe for, well, why are their posts doing well and mine aren't? I just said, hey, something's not hitting with this audience. Like, something about the way that I'm, writing my copy or shooting my videos, I got to get better because I want to learn this. I knew it was going to be such an important piece to the business, and it ended up becoming pretty much the whole thing for my business. Because I started off wanting to do sales consulting, and then I started posting on LinkedIn. And when it started to work, I said, wait a second, there's something to this content marketing, social selling thing. I think that's the business I need to pursue. And then that's how it happened.
Can you walk me through a little bit of your journey and what that was like, because I think that could be encouraging for people to hear somebody who basically started from, I don't know where you were at in your LinkedIn journey when you made the transition from your previous role to this one, but to hear that success story of somebody who struggled when they started. And it's really not that long between October of 2019 and now May of 21.
Right.
That's not that long of a time. And to get to your level of success, what was that journey like? What were some of the big pitfalls that you stumbled across in order to get to where you are now?
Yeah, man, it was a heck of a journey. I mean, first and foremost, it was challenging because I was working a full-time job. I have 2 kids too. And so it wasn't like I was like, I had all this time to create content and figure it out and edit videos and that kind of stuff. And so the first few months, really the whole time I was working, till 11 o'clock at night, sometimes midnight or later. And because I would get off work at 4 or 5, and then I would, if I was with my kids, I'd spend time with them. And then when they go to bed, I would work. Or if I wasn't with my kids that day, I would go straight to work once I was done with my full-time job. But I had a new profile. So I had my company profile, like my employee at the company I was working for 6 years before I left. I had a profile through them that I had had for maybe 5 to 10 years. I mean, like a lot of people, we kind of just let our profiles lay dormant and didn't really do anything with it. Because I was back when LinkedIn really was like a graveyard, right? And so I had that profile, and maybe I had like 3,000 something connections. It wasn't anything crazy. But I decided to start a brand new profile when I started this company. So I had 0 followers. I mean, it wasn't like I had, this following built up. I mean, I started from 0 in basically September 2019 or right around there. So, yeah, it was, I'm a big believer in, like, I set my mind that I wanted to build this business. There was no plan B. It was plan A. It was, I'm going to do this. And unless I die, I'm going to make it happen. And so that was part of the journey. And then literally, yeah, man. And then from February 2020, I won my first customer in this business. And then July 2020, 6 months later, I was making more money in this job than I was at my, 6-figure corporate job. So I put in my notice, and it was one of the coolest days of my life.
Well, if somebody's starting out and maybe they're not quite in your exact situation where they want to build their own business, but they want to develop the business that they're in and they're just starting out, where should they start?
So give me an example. Like, are we talking about like a salesperson, like in a new territory? And like,
yeah. So say there's a salesperson who's been dormant on LinkedIn. They've got an account. Maybe they scroll through their news feed once in a while, but they've seen enough of your videos. They've seen enough of Jonathan Palmer and Shay to know that, all right, there might be something to this social selling. Where should they start?
So a great place to start before you start, I mean, you could start creating content instantly, but a great place to start is just to go watch what other people are doing, consume content, engage with other people on their content, and start to build that mini community that way. But quickly after that, if you're going to start posting content, which I would recommend, I mean, you could talk about profile, creating a high converting profile for your LinkedIn page and that kind of stuff. That's important too. But when you start creating content, aside from engaging on other people's content, you really need to first think about what your brand is, your personal brand, and who you are and your values and what you stand for. It's really important to get clear on that. And then quickly it becomes about that target audience. So if you're the salesperson, who are you selling to? Is it engineering managers? Is it plant managers? Is it office managers? Is it, is it IT company? I mean, who is it? And then you really need to think about, what do they care about? What are their challenges? What are their pain points? How do they talk about things? What language do they use? What would keep them up at night? What are some things that I could talk about that would hit them in the newsfeed and say, wow, I got to see what this is. This is really relevant and interesting to me. And then you go. And I mean, that's on the content side, right? And then the social selling side, if you've got Sales Navigator, it's one of the greatest social selling tools that we have today on planet Earth. So hop on Sales Navigator, and you can search very specifically by company, headcount growth, industry, all these different things, when they posted content last 30 days. So you can find people that are active on LinkedIn, build lead list out, and then engage on those people's content because they're active. You know that because you've searched by them, and then start to build some relationships with those folks, become familiar with them, create some context, and then you can reach out with a personalized video DM or a text DM, and you can start some conversations that way, and those lead to meetings, and then meetings, if you're good at sales, lead to business.
Well, that's a really good point, because that's what a lot of it's about. I think people hope that, they'll go out, they'll create a video, their ideal customer avatar will see it, call them up and say, "Oh my God, that was so brilliant. I want to give you all my business for the rest of the time." But yeah. I was watching a conversation you had with Nancy Giacalone, hope I'm pronouncing that right.
Yeah.
About
Giacalone, yeah.
That, if you don't have 50 to 100 people that you could call up right now and they take your call just to have a conversation, then you're doing something wrong. And that's what it's about.
Right. Exactly, man. So that was the biggest mistake that I made when I first started posting content on LinkedIn, or really on social media in general, Instagram and then LinkedIn. I thought I would just I thought it was all about the content, and the content's important, but I would post it and then I would just I had a couple friends that I engaged with, and that was it. And when I realized that, oh man, I need to get out here and get in front of other people and add value to their post and get to know people and take the conversations offline more often, that's when things really started to change. And when you comment on someone's post and they'll reciprocate back a lot of times, and then, oftentimes how Nancy became a client, as you probably saw, was she had engaged a couple times on my content. It doesn't mean that people are necessarily ready to reach out and say, "Alex, I want to buy from you," but they're interested. Those are the warmest leads, other than somebody reaching out and saying, "Hey, Travis, I want to buy from you." The second best is people engaging on your content that are in your target audience. They're saying, it's like you setting up a stand at the mall and people are walking by you and they're like, "Yo, Travis, love your stuff. This is amazing, dude. How'd you guys make that stuff? Oh, that's great, man." And then you're just like, "Oh, cool. Thanks. See you later." As opposed to being like, "Hey, if you like that, let me show you something else. Hey, let's have a conversation about this. Let me tell you a little bit more." That's exactly what it's like to pass up opportunities from the people that are engaging on your content. So yes, absolutely, go back once you start to get some traction on your content and engage with the folks that are already showing you love and like what you're putting out.
To take that back to our earlier conversation, I think the same is true for companies that are hiring and for candidates that are searching, or frankly might be searching one day, which is just about everyone. It's not about companies creating their employment brand content now so that immediately all of these people say, "That company looks amazing. I want to go work for them and only them." And it's not about candidates creating valuable content and engaging with companies they're interested in, and those companies immediately saying, "That person, definitely, we will make a spot for them because they made this brilliant comment or had this tremendous piece of content." But it's about building the relationship now so that when the timing is right, company puts out all this great content about the good they're doing in the market, the empowerment that they give their employees, the fantastic culture, so that when they are looking and they can directly reach out to people who could be a good fit for them, those people already know them, they know the company, and they're interested in why they might want to go to that company. And it's starting the conversation.
Exactly, man. Exactly. It's presenting yourself in a positive light, in a value-added way that people see, they're attracted to, they engage with, they get to know, you build trust, credibility at scale. And so naturally, when someone's ready to even think about doing what you're doing or working for a company or looking for an opportunity, they're going to reach out to you. And on the flip side, from a candidate side, I have buddies that literally they're employees at companies and they get job offers at great companies, next level companies from where they're at, because they post content consistently. They're in sales, and so it's like they're doing the right things. They're building their personal brand. They're marketing themselves. And some people are like, I'm pretty happy at my company. Why would I get on LinkedIn? It's like, well, your personal brand you have with you for the rest of your life. So maybe it's you want to get promoted. Maybe you want to get the attention of the CEO. Maybe it's you want to, look for other opportunities at some point 2 years down the line. Well, if you've been building a brand this whole time, I mean, dude, if I was ever looking for a job and the business didn't work out, I would have no doubts that I'd have work within a
You
day.
just call us
like
up.
I just, yeah, I just know enough people that I'd be like, how can I impact your organization? Here's what I'm thinking. Here's ways I could bring more revenue in. And it would just be I'd find work, dude. Like it would just never be an issue. But that's not because I'm so amazing. It's because I've just built my brand and I've connected with so many people and had offline conversations and we've built a community. And that's how it happens.
You and me are a perfect example. I mean, I've been following your content for probably about a year now, but we never talked until it was the first time we actually talked, like 3 or 4 months ago. But that first conversation, as soon as we get on, it's like, "Hey, brother, what's happening?" Because it's.
I know, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
We've been a part of each other's world. We know each other's ideas.
Right.
And we've done it for so long. So.
That's, by the way, too, that's the power of video specifically, too, that I really love. Like, yeah, commenting back and forth is fantastic, and I do agree you get to know somebody at a different level. But when you have video, like, for example, when I'm going to meet with somebody and I check out their profile or they message me out of nowhere and like, I want to meet with you. And I'm like, who is this person? I look at their profile, and if I don't see any videos, it's really like the trust factor for me is like down here. And I know it's the same way for pretty much anyone. I look at their feed and I'm like, is this person legit? Do I know, like, what are they all about? And then as soon as I find a couple videos, I'm like, oh, yeah, they seem like a great person. Like, they're talking, they're adding value. They're not, there's something disarming and trust adding that videos have that you just can't get with text posts. So even though I teach people how to make videos that convert to customers as part of my packaging, I don't just encourage people to make videos. And it's not all I make either. And so I think if you're really good on text post or pictures or you've got the poll thing figured out, there's certainly other ways that you can express yourself and create content. But to some degree, you need to have a certain element of video, whether it's one video a week, one video every two, like whatever it is, to be able to put a face to the person behind the LinkedIn profile and have it in your featured content section on your profile. And there's just so much power to that and trust to that. And then if you get into customer testimonials and social proof, and I can hit somebody before they even first talk to me with testimonials and text testimonials and video testimonials and about my services. So when they get on the call, I've had people before being like, I knew I was going to buy from you before we got on the call. I just wanted to get on the call just to kind of get to know you a little bit better to make sure that we vibed and stuff. And then that's the power of putting out consistent content and having a high converting profile.
Can you put people at ease a little bit that, you say if they don't have video, then the trust factor goes down a little bit. And it's so much easier to get to know someone when you've seen them converse with others or just talk to you through video. Can you put people at ease to know that they can bring value through video to people without creating a full-blown country western hip-hop music video?
Yeah, man, absolutely. Like the funny thing about those creative videos is people are like, they always tell me like, you do so many scripted videos and creative videos. And I'm like, I only do 4 a month. It just seems like it's so much because strategically it's every Monday and, but a lot of my content is interview style content or text post or selfie videos, and I do skits and stuff like that too. The best way for someone to get started on video, I think, is if they're, because getting in front of a camera and looking right at the camera and you're writing a script or delivering a message, it can be a little bit tricky if you haven't done a ton of videos, right? You hit the record button and it's like you become a different person all of a sudden. It's like, wow, what? And so like, and that's common for even me, and I've been doing this for a long time. It's like sometimes when you hit record, when I'm making some of my creative videos, it's like, why did I just say that line perfectly? And then now I hit record, and now it's like stumbling through it. But one of the best things you can do, Travis, is just hop on something like this. Like grab a buddy or a colleague or your manager or a client and just say, hey, let's spend 20 minutes. Grab somebody that wants to start creating content too, or maybe already is. There's plenty of people out there. And just say, hey, let's have a 20-minute conversation over lunch or something. And I'm going to ask you these 3 questions. You ask me these 3 questions based on our audience and industry that's going to bring value to them. We record it, and then we can chop it up, and you can have it edited or not edited. But that's a great way, because no one's too afraid to hop on a call like this with somebody they trust. Nobody can tell me that they're scared to do that, because the reality is we've been doing that the past year, especially with COVID. everyone's been on Zoom, right? So like, there's no one out there that's like, I can't talk to a friend on a Zoom call. And if you can talk to a friend on a Zoom call, you've got video content.
Yeah, that's the thing, and let people in behind the scenes a little bit. That's one of the reasons that we created this podcast, is because, we said earlier, salespeople, engineers, they're not super comfortable getting in front of a camera, putting together a scripted 1 to 2 minute video that they're positive will be valuable for their audience. But to hop on a Zoom call with me, hit record, chat for 30 minutes, everybody's comfortable with that. I do that with everybody every single week already. So why not record it? And you'll always be able to find some chunks in there that are valuable to so many people. And so I think companies can do that for their people to really help them. I think that's one of the biggest things they can do, is exactly what you're saying, is find a leader in the company who's semi-comfortable on video, get their employees on a call, hit record, and find somebody who's halfway decent at video editing to cut it up into a couple of bits and give it to your employee to put out there to their network. It's one of those things that I don't think it's that hard and can be really, really valuable for your team.
It's not, man. It's really not that hard. People overcomplicate stuff, and then you get all the excuses like, well, engineers are different than salespeople. I know a lot of awkward salespeople, and I know a lot of like outgoing engineers. So I hate, I'm not a big fan of labels. But, again, leadership needs to lead from the front. If no one is out there doing it, putting themselves out there, it's hard for anyone else to follow. And so people also got to realize that, look, personal branding and video and the digital, market that we live in, this is not going away. This is the future. So what's going to happen, Roger, when you can't, you're so scared to use a video for the next 5 years, and then all of a sudden companies are like, you want to work here? Yeah, I do. Great, Roger. Send us a video resume. Send us a 30-second video on you, showcasing your skills or doing whatever. And he's like, So, I mean, dude, people just got to get... the world changes. We evolve. You either adjust with time or time's going to adjust you. I mean, it's like, it blows my mind sometimes around people that just can't evolve. It's like, we're not asking you to like do, rocket science or like come way out of your normal world. You're just communicating as a human being. It's literally talking, except for instead of, you being in Lockport and me being in St. Charles, we're on this screen. And so it's like, it's just, I think people just get in their head, man. They make it a bigger deal than it really is.
It's such an easy way to communicate with so many people at the same time. And you see a video of someone again and again and again, and time after time, they're creating a little bit of value in your life that it's impossible to not get to know that person. It's impossible to not develop almost a fondness for that person.
Well, it's like when the phone came out, where people like, I've never used the phone before. I don't want to. That's going to be weird. I'm going to have to get on there. Now everyone uses the phone. And remember when the internet first came out? I mean, we were little guys, but the 90s when it really started popping, it was like people were like, this is weird. And I still remember that David Letterman, Bill Gates interview, if you've ever seen it, where he's like, so it's the internet, and he's like really doubting everything. And Bill Gates is like, yeah, you do this, this, and this. And David's like, can't you just use a phone for that? Ha 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 ha. And like everyone's like chuckling it, and then it turns out to be everyone's using the internet, right? Like my parents at one point were like, oh, Facebook and social media, we don't do it. Now my dad's like scrolling through Facebook. Like people figure it out, man. We're humans. We adapt really well. It's not that complicated. Like you need to get out of your own head and push your own ego and insecurities aside and just make a video.
Just make a video. Yeah.
Crazy. Make a damn video.
And if you're hard up, if you're having a tough time doing it, call up Alex. Call me up. We'll chat with anybody.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, man. And no one's going to, your first, several posts, no one's going to see the stuff anyways. So you might as well just put it out there and get some practice.
My first ones are so terrible, Alex. I'm so happy.
Same, man.
I think the internet swallowed them up. I've looked for them. I can't find them. But I was, like 5 or 6 years ago, I was trying to create video job posts for like quality assurance managers at dairy plants in Wisconsin, and I'm like, imagine the team you'll be able to build. The vision for your future is incredible. And talk about not knowing your audience. They were so bad, and I'm like getting like this close up. It's just atrocious.
I remember mine, man. Mine are still on LinkedIn. Still, I mean, you can still go see them. They were not good.
How bad were they?
They were not good. Oh, dude, they were just, I mean, no clear plan, no clear, message. They were 4 minutes long. Some of them just all over the place talking about random stuff. I mean, it's just a typical, newbie.
So let's give comfort to anybody who's thinking about creating their first couple of videos. They will be bad. They will be bad, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But if somebody is starting out, what could they do to, maybe set themselves up so they're not as bad as ours were?
Practice and watch other people. That's it. Like, it's really the only way to get better at anything, right? Like, you gotta, if you can watch other people and kind of study how they do things, and maybe someone that kind of fits your style, and you vibe with that person, take things from that person, use things from that person, turn, and obviously make it into your own style. But that, and you just have to practice. You just there's no other way. It's like you're not gonna, if you're playing baseball, you don't get out. If you've never swung a bat before, you don't get out to the plate and just start rocking home runs at 80 miles an hour. Fastballs coming at you. You're going to strike out a lot. Like, there's only one way. There's two ways to get better. You can learn and study and get coaches and that kind of stuff, and that's great. That can speed up the process. But part of it's you got to get out there and swing the bat.
Just get into the cage. So many people say that their biggest hurdle is they don't have the ideas for the content. They don't know what to say that their audience is going to find valuable. And I think a lot of that has to do with the lack of confidence. But what can people do to come up with the ideas for the content that the people are going to be interested in hearing about?
Simplest thing you can do is ask your audience. Literally ask your customers. When you're, first of all, everyone does know. I agree with what you said, that I think it's more of a confidence thing, because it's like, let's say you're a sales rep. It's like you're telling me that you don't know what your clients care about. You don't know anything that they would want to hear about that would bring value to them. How are you selling, right? If you're an engineer and you're in your craft and doing your thing, you don't know what your audience cares about. You don't know that they want, certain products made certain ways that are more efficient or you don't know that they would care about, hey, before you hire the next engineering company, you might want to ask these two really important questions so your project is successful. Like, people know what to ask. Like, I think they know a lot more. Again, it's all in their heads. But I would ask your audience, ask your customers. The other thing you could do is go to somebody that's creating content in your industry already. So if I'm a recruiter or a staffing owner, things like that, and I'm like, I don't know what to post, and my target audience is similar to yours, Travis, I'll just go watch 20 of your videos and be like, what is Travis talking about? And not that I'm going to rip the content off you, but I may grab some ideas, right? Just to get some ideas around it. Just what is he talking about that seems to be resonating with that same audience? So between looking at other people's stuff and just asking your clients and audience, you should have plenty of ideas to come up with.
What's your process? How do you come up with your ideas?
It's all for my clients. It's all for my customers. Yeah, my live calls with my boot camp. It's my one-on-one sessions with people. It's prospecting calls. They ask me questions. Like, you just asked me that right now. That would be, boom, now I got a piece of content. What's your process? What's your creative process? How do you get your ideas? Boom, that's a piece of content, right? And I've done that piece before. But that's how I get it, because to me that's the honey. Like, that's where I go straight to the source. Like, I want I want to get the most valuable thing that they want to hear about. Well, how do I know what that is unless I talk to them and really dig in to figure out, okay, but why are you struggling with this? Like, one of the quick things that I talked about earlier was the psychology of behind creating content. When I first started teaching and coaching people on this stuff and consulting, I wasn't as familiar with the psychology behind it. So as I studied my customers more and as I learned more about them, I realized, wait a second, there's a lot of mental hurdles that they may say that this is the symptom, this is why I'm not creating content, but really the root cause or the disease is something totally different. Like, I had a guy, a couple weeks ago say that I have too many ideas, Alex. I can't possibly create content. I've just got so many ideas. I don't even know where to start. And it's like, no, dude, your problem is you don't have too many ideas. Your problem is you're scared to take action on one of them, because what if they're not good enough? What if it doesn't work? What if your audience says you suck? So that's how I think about that.
Yeah, people just got to get out of their own way.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Alex. Any last
man.
words of wisdom out there to anybody who's interested in upping their social game, whether it's to build their customer base, to possibly find their next great job, or to find the next great person to come and join their company?
LinkedIn and social media. LinkedIn specifically is the greatest business networking community right now on planet Earth, regardless if you're in sales, trying to find a job, you're a company that's trying to hire people. So to not get on there and take advantage of it over the next few years while the organic reach is still good is just silly. It's just really silly in my mind. And then you got to understand there's two components of it from a high level perspective. One, you can do things right away that get you more immediate results. That's called social selling. That's called engaging. That's called video messages. That's one of the things that a lot of the videographers and some of the video marketers and traditional marketers couldn't wrap their heads around, that I understood because I came from sales. They're like, yeah, but Alex, you can't get people an ROI. You can't talk about this. It takes time to build. I'm like, yeah, the content does, but I can go message somebody right now. I can go find somebody else's post, engage, create context, message, set meetings. I've won a ton of customers and helped a ton of people win customers that way. That's the short-term play. And then the long-term play is, yes, content, brand, really getting clear about that. And that does take time to build. And then eventually your customers and candidates and companies start coming to you.
Alex, man, this has been awesome. If people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to find you, as if we don't already know the answer?
LinkedIn is definitely the best way to find me. Hit me up, send me a message, or Sheridan@Impaxs.com.
Yep. Alex Sheridan, Unleash the Creative. My friend, thank you so much for being on here. This has been great. Have
Thanks,
a great
brother.
one.
Appreciate you having me.
I'm making a move.